that. You mentioned Dr. Sivas, so this is probably a good time to transition over into what we wanted to talk about today. So
Hmm.
we had an amazing discussion last time. I recommend anybody go back episode 575, where you talk about carnivore. You gave so many great tips and tricks and things that people can do to apply. And again, really motivating to know that so many different things improved with your health, and we see it all the time with so many people out there. And we kind of got to the end of our hour and brought up something, food addiction, and like, man, we need to give this the proper time that it needs. So I'm glad you were willing to come back on. I don't know where you want to jump in, man. I, let's jump in wherever you think is right as far as covering food addiction. I think it's finally starting to be more accepted that this is a real thing, and I think more people are understanding that to different degrees. This is something probably a lot more of us are dealing with than we had once thought.
Absolutely, it is. And when I heard some of this information, my personality jumped right on it because I had the aha moments because it was me. I heard these descriptions and that's me. Oh my gosh, that's me. Oh, here's a solution. Let me try that. I try it. It works. Oh my gosh, let me learn more. And that's how I went with it. So, addiction, a lot of people have their own perception of the definition. And addiction is an unhealthy relationship with something, meaning when you engage in a habit that you do to the point that you're doing harm to yourself, but when you ignore the reality of the harm to continue the unhealthy habit. That is addiction. Addiction is when harm occurs, but you keep doing it anyway. So you could be doing something that's healthy for you and you love it and you may say, "Oh, I'm addicted to exercise. I like lifting 3 times a week." Well, it's not really an addiction because you're not harming yourself. You're helping yourself in the back end. Um, so it's an absence of control. You lost control over something. And I'm going to apply it in our talk here, carbs and sugar. All right. And I think a lot of people don't realize it because we say, oh, addiction's just, it's the heroin addict, it's the alcoholic, it's the cigarette smoker. Well, it is, but those are examples that we can very clearly see. So when we do something that's unhealthy or neutral, it's not an addiction. If you have a relationship with something and it does no harm, that's a healthy relationship. If you get enjoyment out of that's not an addiction. So think smoking, think alcohol, think heroin, think gambling, think pornography, think our cell phones can be something that we get addicted to. And then I want us to focus on carbs and sugar. So I want to break each one down so you can see how they relate. Alcoholism has nothing to do with hydration. It's about the buzz and what alcohol does to relieve the emotional tension. So everybody has emotional tension. The alcoholic, it it eases that tension. Smoking has nothing to do with breathing. It's about the relief of emotional tension from nicotine. Okay, I got all this right from Dr. Sivas. All right, I give him the credit for this. Pornography has nothing to do with sex, believe it or not. It's about hiding in a fantasy world and receiving sensory information to get that dopamine hit, that relief. A lot of people don't realize that. Gambling is not about money, it's about a sensory experience. It's not about winning or losing, it's the dopamine hit, the emotional tension relief that they get when they win, or the I'm going to win. It's some people are severely addicted to that and it ruins their lives. They will take out all their money. Okay, our cell phones are not about getting information all the time when it becomes an addiction. And I think you can see where I'm going with this. And I've seen it as a teacher with my middle school kids, and I see it with some adults. It's relieving tension. It's getting those dopamine hits when people get the like. Oh, they liked my post. They're responding. I get those hits when somebody responds to one of my YouTubes, like, "Oh, wow, you really helped me." I get this, "Oh, wow, I helped somebody." That makes me want to be on it more. It's a very valid thing. So it's not just the drug or a thing, it's the actions involved in it. And it's all a way to get relief from our anxiety and our tension. So as human beings, we all have anxiety, we all have tension. Now, carbs and sugar are exactly the same thing, and it's everywhere in our face. Carbohydrates and sugar is in the standard American diet. And unless you have the knowledge to eat the proper human diet, you're going to eat this stuff and get those dopamine hits. I want potato chips. I want to have popcorn. I'm going to go have some Doritos. I'm going to have mine was M&Ms. Oh my God, the peanut M&Ms, tons of peanut M&Ms. And I would eat them all day long. And I would eat them about every 20 minutes. I would have some. Interesting. I would get like almost like a drug hit from some sugar. So people, unless you're hearing this, like the way I'm explaining it, um, you don't realize that you're doing it. You're like, well, I'm not an alcoholic. I don't smoke. I don't drink. I don't gamble. I don't do all these things. Oh, wait a minute. I do eat a lot of junk food and I eat more when I'm stressed out. So maybe I have an addiction to sugar and carbohydrates. And sugar and carbohydrates are different than meat protein, and it's different than fat in the meat, right? Because meat and fat, healthy fats, are nutrition. They have all our amino acids, our proteins, our vitamins, our minerals. Carbohydrates are not essential because our liver makes just the amount that we need, that little teaspoon in our bloodstream. It pushes glucose just so we know we don't need it. So when we add it, we get this, again, I say dopamine hit. We get this rush and we want more. Some people, most people, I fit into the most people category. I I can hear the bells ringing when I eat sugar. It's like, whoa,
Yeah.
I want more. I want more on my taste buds. It's so good. I can't stop. And I used to eat to the point of damaging myself. All right. I would
Mm.
have bowel problems. I would have emotional, all the things I said in my last video that I didn't realize over time damaged me. That was all from carbohydrates and sugars and seed oils, which come with processed food, the seed oils.